Hello, I'm Debbie Iannaci, and I'm here at the GBTA broadcast studio. Joining me today is Will Kataria, Senior Director, Sales and Operations for Cvent. Welcome to the studio, Will.
Thank you, Debbie.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about research, one of my favorite topics. Cvent recently launched this year an event industry report specifically related to Asia. Can you share with us a few of the emerging trends and insights that you found with reference to the events industry specifically?
Sure, no, absolutely. I'll tell you what, since the pandemic, the event industry has gone through a lot of changes, and I would say it brought forward digitization, a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities. So Cvent, being the world's leader in event technology, with the mass size of customers that we have across the globe, we ran Asia report just to survey planners and hoteliers to get a better pulse on the event industry, right? So what we could find as trends is that, first of all, what's happening this year is that in-person events are back. We all had the virtual fatigue, right? And then all of a sudden, when in-person open up, there's no longer travel restrictions. So organizers are really jumping into it, which is also bringing a lot of challenges up front as well. Costs, travel costs, right? But at the same time, technology is at the forefront. Attendees and planners, they want to use more technology. In fact, as a survey result, about 70% attendees that we surveyed, they said that they want more engagement and they want more use of technology at events and meetings. So I would say top trends, and that's happening now, is of course in-person. Hybrid should come back, but then it's also more use of technology, more use of engagement, gamification, driving more ROI from leads. If the cost is high, we need to get more out of an event, right? There are things that you cannot control, but the ROI has to go up.
Right. And it's definitely something we're seeing as well, that people want to connect face to face.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Inherently human, it's a human nature, right? We love to go shake hand, talk to someone, share a bite, share a drink. So people were waiting for things to open up, and as soon as it opened up, attendees and events, they embraced it, right? And it's not just an Asia phenomena. We're seeing it across the globe, that in-person events are definitely back in full force.
Right, and it's great. Even we're here at the GBTA APAC conference in Singapore, and it's just so nice just to see, to connect names and faces and things, and just people really who knew each other also having a time, and teams getting a chance to come together, I think is something different as well. And you talked a little bit about the journey, let's call it journey to recovery. So when we look at where we're now, but we're really looking ahead as well, what are some of the top challenges that you might foresee in the events sector? And you work with so many companies at Cvent. How are you seeing them approaching navigating those challenges?
Yeah, sure. Very good question. And we have a session on that today as well later, right? So yeah, challenges. What we're seeing, one of the biggest challenges, I'll talk from two perspectives, from an organization's perspective, right? So an organization, any company that hosts events, the main purpose of events is, of course, to drive business for the company, right? Now, one of the biggest challenge, of course, with in-person being back, the cost. Everyone knows, everyone is talking about that. The cost of hosting events has gone up. Travel costs, venue costs, food and beverage, everything is more expensive, right? So we're trying to juggle with that. That's where I would say efficiency, better conversion, more engagement, those things come into the place, right? Second thing, what organizations are struggling to do is that companies spend a lot of money in marketing technologies, is MarTech, or that's the term that we coined, right? And then they spend money in CRM, right, to keep a track on contacts and what's going on. But then when you host events, somebody's spending a day with you, right? You don't need basic data. Like, you don't want to know who came to my event, right? That's not rocket science anymore, right? So engaging with people and being able to track that engagement is something that organizations want to do, but there's a bit of a struggle around that. What's the right path? What's the right way to do that, right? The third thing I would say is also sustainability. Our event industry we want to move to a sustainability, to be more sustainable, but it's an ecosystem, right? You have venues, you have event planners. Everybody has to embrace that and truly commit to it. So event industry altogether is trying to bring more sustainability. So there's that awareness about that. There's initiatives about that. A lot of hotels are doing some really amazing things for sustainability, right? So I think that's a third challenge as well as an opportunity for our industry altogether.
Right. And are you seeing companies, I'm going to use the word require, certain things that they didn't require when it comes to their events and meetings maybe prior to 2019?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Predominantly, our industry has been very manual, right? If somebody asks me today, hey, Cvent, you're the world leader in event technology, who's your biggest competitor? I say my biggest competitor is manual work. It's no technology. So our and there was a way to get around that, right? You would have an events team. You could use certain products, like a mix of 6, 7 different technologies to get through an event, right? And that was there. Now, what happened when during the pandemic time, everybody pivoted to virtual, because you can't like not engage with people, right? You have to drive that as an organization. So, and then we didn't know virtual, right? The industry didn't know virtual. Event planners were not content producers. Their role has changed a lot now than what it was pre-pandemic. Event planners, event organizers, they need to know production and do more, like even have on-demand content, right? So I think what's happened with the pandemic is that it brought that necessary adoption and use of technology. What we don't want is, now that pandemic is over and it's all in person, then we go back to that, right? Because there's a certain requirement, once you've seen tech and you've seen better ROI with that companies want the similar ROI with in person. And hopefully hybrid should come back and trend again, because again, hybrid fits in the bill, right? It drives sustainability. You cut down costs because you don't have a lot of people traveling in and flying and taking hotels, right? Yet you have the in-person engagement for people that you can engage locally, right? So probably that is something that will bounce back in the industry.
Right. And I still think it's interesting. Again, I keep referring to it as a journey, but as we move forward, and here at the conference, we're talking about a lot of new horizons anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what's kind of next for the meetings and events area as those programs change, as companies change, as technologies continue to offer more, whether it's from how to integrate the technologies to obviously something everyone's talking about is artificial intelligence,
yeah,
and how that comes into the equation.
Yeah, I do get that question about AI
yeah.
in a lot of panels and conferences that I attend, right? I don't say it's gonna just it's not going to immediately take your breath away and sweep the floor under you, right? But AI is there, and I think, yeah, with artificial intelligence, there are things that could be done where you can automate more, you can get faster results. So yeah, AI can be something that could be useful for the industry.
Right. Well, let's bring things back to Asia specifically, of course, and of interest is what we're talking about over the days here in Singapore. So when you think of Asia as a market or a region, how would you say it's poised to change business travel overall?
Sure. So one of the things we mentioned in our Asia industry report is Singapore stood up as the #1 MICE destination in Asia. And it's not just us, it's a lot of other travel and prominent meeting associations and organizations that are watching for that, right? And there are reasons behind that, right? For Singapore to be that #1 MICE destination in Asia. Yeah, but when we talk about business travel, how things were to change, like, of course, there's more upcoming regions in Asia. Planners can pivot to that, like organizers are pivoting to that too. Thailand is coming up quite a bit. Malaysia is also coming up. Then you have the other side of Japan and Korea, which is a different world altogether, right? So when we talk about business travel, I think there is some change coming in with the type of conferences and meetings that are being organized. And organizers are also looking at specific meetings for specific segments within that particular country or region. That's how they can drive more ROI. So yeah, I would say business travel is going to change a little more with the coming years. But again, this is the best time to be in the events industry. It is an exciting time. Our industry grew by more than 20% in the last year,
Wow.
which is huge,
Wow.
for an industry which is valued at more than $1 trillion. Our overall MICE industry, I think the last valuation was about $1.6 trillion, right? And that's more than 20% growth from last year. So this is a great and exciting place to be.
Right. And getting people together is obviously valued and valuable.
It will always be valuable. It
Right.
will always be valuable, because they say that in-person events would drive at least 3 times more engagement than any other way, right? So of course, you cannot replace that.
Right. Well, Will, it's been fantastic to talk to you. I really appreciate you sharing with us all your insights and your latest research from Cvent.
Thanks for having me here, Debbie. Appreciate that.
Great.
Have a nice
And thank you all for tuning in to the GBTA Broadcast Studio.